Hello and welcome back to Suspended Fanimation. I am your host, Dennis Betholkis, and this is Preacher, Season 4, Episode 1 and Episode 2. Episode 1 was titled Masada, and Episode 2 was entitled Last Supper. I was surprised as anyone that they were going to actually do back-to-back episodes there. And sorry if you hear Pepper in the background there. She is playing with her toy. She decided that now was a good time to start playing with her toy because she had all day to do that and didn't do it until now. So, yeah. Hey, Pepper, knock it off. Yeah. So, let's get started here, shall we? I'm going to start with a little bit of business first, as she is growling and doing that. If you like what you see here and you like hearing dog growls and stuff like that in the background, hit the subscribe button. Hit the subscribe button, hit the like button. Also, if you want to see what I'm going to be on live again next, you can hit the bell down below. The bell may or may not work for you. It's got a 50-50 chance of actually giving you some some notification. Oh, good. She's actually afraid now of wherever she knocked her toy. So maybe that'll. She's had attention all damn day, Pen Farm Girl. So yeah, she does not need any more attention than what she's doing. Yeah, if you want to see when I'm going to be on live again next, you can go onto my website, suspendedfanimation.com. My schedule is up there. It's also mirrored on my Facebook page as well. I have a Twitter, I have an Instagram, and I also have a Patreon page. I don't have any tiers set up on the Patreon page as of yet, but that will come at some point in time. So there we go. With that said, let's go into spoilers. Spoiler alert, I am going to spoil the episodes. So if you haven't watched them, go and watch them. Come on back. This will be a video you can comment down below in the comments section. Thank you, Viking Bitch, for the paddle. So, where were we? We start off with God in the basically checking out some dinosaurs. Dinosaurs are flying by. It's a nice claymation thing going on there, and he's looking at his newest creation, which looks like a brontosaurus. And he's like, my newest creation. How are you doing this morning? And then he just sees this thing take a gigantic dump, and it starts sniffing its own shit and getting ready to eat it. He's like, "Don't do it. No, don't do it. No, no." And what does it do? It takes a big mouthful of its own shit and starts eating it. So he gets pissed off. He goes, "I told you, that was a test. I told you not to do it." And so he just starts bringing down the meteorites all around and killing all the dinosaurs because it failed the test. Yeah. All because it was eating its own shit. Yeah, exactly. We know what killed the dinosaurs now. Exactly. And what the test was that they couldn't resist eating their own shit. Now, what I loved was that when the meteorites were coming down, it started eating its own shit faster, which made me laugh. That's all it was. It was just trying to get down as much as possible before it died. Tulip and Cassidy, in the meantime, are in a motel room, and she's drinking. He comes in, and of course, there's no word from Cass. And they're saying it's feeling like the end, kind of, sort of. And Cassidy ends up telling a joke about stranded sailors and finding a bottle with a genie in it. And when the genie comes out, one of the guys wishes that the entire sea gets turned into Guinness. And the other sailor says, "Why'd you do that?" And he goes, "Now I can't piss in the sea anymore. I got to piss in the boat." And she finds it funny and ends up kissing him, and he kisses her back. In the meantime, we see a body falling from the sky, and it's Australia. And it turns out to be Jesse. Jesse lands and dies in Australia. And then we get a flashback that says a few months earlier. Yeah. And it's back in the Middle East. We see Tulip's car racing through the desert. And it's kind of driving a little bit erratically. And that's because Jesse and Tulip are screwing while they're driving. Yeah. And he basically tells her he loves her. And she says, "Oh, really? You love me?" And he goes, "Yeah, to the end of the earth, to the end of the world." Yeah. So there we go. In the meantime, Cassidy and the angel are in their cells still in that well. And the angel is talking to him, and Cassidy just wants him to shut the fuck up at this point. Really, he's just tired of listening to the angel. When in comes Featherstone, she grabs Cassidy, and he asks her about Hoover, and says, he owes Hoover for what he did. And he goes, "Oh, Hairstar lit him on fire." He's like, "Oh, okay." And so he's got chains on his feet and all this, and she's basically telling him that he's going to class, is what he's going to. And you're hearing just all these screams of torture and stuff like that going on all around in all the different rooms as he's being led through Masada. And she shows him, this is our control center. It has been the control center for the last 2,000 years. This is Masada. And leads him down some further halls where you're hearing more screaming and stuff like going on. And he gets led into a room that says French literature on the outside. That is supposed to be the class. Then, of course, someone comes by and puts down that it's actually a torture class that's going to be going on. Advanced torture, as a matter of fact. And they show the teacher's name. And yeah, he is tied up to a wheel is what we get there. And he's the torture subject. Yeah. So at the Holy Bar in Grail, we see a huge fight starting, and these guys are just fighting each other. It's the Grail people, they're fighting each other. And out comes this guy. He stands up on top of the bar and starts singing whatever their rousing song is, and they all start joining in and singing along with them. When in walks Jesse, who unplugs the jukebox, and he uses his voice to get them to stop, because they all pull out their guns at Jesse. And Tulip comes in too, and basically wants to know where their friend Cass is. She wants to know who wants to join them to take on Masada, actually. And they all pull out their guns, and that's when he tells them to freeze with his voice. And then he makes them all follow Tulip. Tulip is now their boss by using the voice. Yeah. So Ourspace and the Saint of Killers, in the meantime, are in Angelville, and they see the burned out mansion. And the Saint of Killers says he was here, but he's not, he's moved on. We got to move on too. So they're following Jesse's path. And that's all we see of them, quite honestly, throughout this entire thing, which I was kind of disappointed about. Anyway, Cassidy is being shot with a shotgun by the torture instructor. Frankie is his name. And he's being healed with the blood transfusion. He has a blood drip going on immediately. So basically, as soon as he gets shot, he heals back up again. It's pretty fucked up. And the teacher is saying that when guns don't work, you might want to go old school. And he pulls out a straight razor. And Cassie's like, no. He goes, "You're doing it all wrong. I've been tortured so many times in so many different ways." He goes, "Nothing new. You can bring nothing new to me at this point." He goes, "Really? Nothing," is what Frankie says. And he opens up Cass's pants and starts carving. Yeah. And Cassidy, of course, starts screaming. We don't know what he's doing to Cass's dick, but he's doing something, obviously. It actually didn't go in a circle, Viking bitch. I'll get to that at the end here. And now I know the reason why they did 2 episodes like this, so you could figure out why these 2 episodes are actually linked. And there's a reason why it is like that. So Jesse appears at Masada, and of course, Hairstar sees that he's there. And he goes to the metal detector. Of course, it goes off. He pulls out his guns, and Hairstar says to let him in. And he wants to know where the hell Cassidy is, of course. And we see Cassidy in the meantime getting pieces cut off of him. Basically, he's being circumcised over and over and over again. Yes, with a straight razor. Pretty nasty stuff. And it actually is kind of funny because it goes back to Cassidy from the previous 2 seasons, talking about, or actually previous 3 seasons, talking about how they used babies' foreskins for face moisturizers and things like that. And just, yeah, it's kind of a really weird, cruel thing, but yeah, it does come back around again on that one. That's actually kind of what made me laugh about it, even though it was gruesome at the same time. And Hairstar says Cassidy is resting peacefully. No need to worry. And all his men have ear protection on. So does he. He has ear protection on as well. because they don't want that to happen. And Jesse says, "You know what?" He goes, "I'll make you a trade." He goes, "I'll help you out so that you can get that vagina on your head to heal, so you can wear hats again. You give me Cassidy, and I'll help you heal." And Hairstar's like, "No, no deal." So he's like, "All right, fine, we'll do it the hard way." So we see Jesse just kind of sidle over to one of the guys really quickly and lift up his earmuff and whispers in his ear. And of course, he starts killing, starts shooting at people, and they start shooting at others. And yeah, it's just basically we see a firefight start inside the room. Um, and then we see, of course, that Jesse leaves the room. There's a guard outside. He lifts his earmuff off and tells him to take him to Cassidy, which he does. And he sees Cassidy up on the wheel and goes, "What the hell are they doing to you?" And Cassidy tells him, he's like, "Yeah, they've been circumcising me all this time. Basically, that's all they're doing, just been circumcising him over and over again." And he asks who did it. And the teacher, Frankie, is right behind him with a couple of students because "I did. Who the hell's asking?" And Jesse starts beating the shit out of these guys. I mean, just punching the crap out of them. And Cassidy can see that Jesse is actually enjoying all of this stuff. He really is. He's got a smile on his face as he's ripping into these guys. Um, so of course Jesse, beats these guys down, gets Cass off the wheel there, and Jesse asks him, "Is you want to do your vampire thing?" And he's like, "What do you mean?" He goes, "You want to drink a little?" He goes, "No, I'm fine. Don't worry about it." He's kind of pissed at Jesse because he thinks that Jesse's laughing at him all the time, and he's really not. He's trying to help him. So Tulip, in the meantime, is getting led inside the door um, by her taken over Masada guards, the taken over Grail guards, I guess you can say, that are now working for her. And as they get towards the door, what happens? But the door starts closing and crushes one of the one of the people in there, and then they start getting fired upon from above. Cass and Jesse, in the meantime, are arguing, trying to get out of the Masada, or trying to get out of Masada, and they're going down the hallways and arguing like a married couple, pretty much. And of course, they don't know where they're going, and they're trying to dodge, of course, the guards and things like that are happening as well. And what happens? They come to a dead end, and when they come to the dead end, some guards find them, and of course, they have to fight their way out. In the meantime, Tulip's still alive. She's underneath some of the people, and she kind of gets startled because the lead that got cut in half in the door is still alive but stuck in the door. And she's saying that yeah, there's a door switch, and the door switch is way up at the top, and it needs to be signaled by essentially a flag. That was how they signaled in order to open the door. And Tulip's like, "Oh shit, all right." So she ends up climbing the hillside to get to the switch. And Cass and Jesse, of course, are fighting off the guards inside, and they reach the elevator that takes them to the lobby. Hair Star, we see, has survived the onslaught inside his room there, and he's taken a bullet to one of the earmuffs, which is actually taken out his ear. It hadn't gone through, but it was, pretty bad at that point. So Cass and Jesse get to the lobby and see that it's closed off with a whole bunch of bodies wedged in between the door, and no Tulip, of course, there as well. Tulip makes it out to the top, and who's there but Featherstone to greet her? And they fight it out. I mean, just they're out and out fighting out. Cass and Jesse, in the meantime, are trying to pry open the door manually. When Cass says he didn't want to, he didn't want to do it. He didn't want to fall in love with Tulip. He just did. And Jesse's kind of pissed off at this point and says, "Don't mention her name again." And Cass, being Cass and likes to push buttons, just looks at him and goes, "Tulip." So of course they start fighting, of course. So they're fighting down below. She's fighting up above with Featherstone. And, she gets thrown off the cliff, but catches onto this piece of equipment that has fallen off the side of the cliff that's still hanging there, and climbs her way back up, starts beating the shit out of Featherstone again, gets Featherstone to the edge of the cliff there and is holding onto her and says, "Just say uncle." And Featherstone's like, no, to die at the hands of an unbeliever is perfectly fine, okay with me. I can be a martyr. And so Tulip's like, all right, pushes her off the cliff. And we see Featherstone actually going head first into a dive. And then she spreads out her arms and legs, and we see that she actually has a glider and takes off and kind of glides out to the ground, which I thought was interesting. Cass and Jesse, in the meantime, are still fighting as the door opens up, and Jesse offers Cass his jacket, of course, to cover up because it's still sunny outside. And Cass is like, no, don't worry, I got this. I'm staying. I've got this. And he's like, no, you should be coming with me. And he's like, no, don't worry, I got this. And the door closes. And who's behind him, of course, but Frankie with a couple of guys. And Cass, of course, gets captured again. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. So Jesse and Tulip go back to the bar, and they're, they've got drinks set up and all that. And he tells her what Cass said. And she asks Jesse, what did you do? Did you and him start fighting again? And he denies. He basically kind of shuts her down. He goes, no, everything's fine. Nothing happened. He wanted to stay. He said he had this. And then she goes, okay, well, we're just going to go back then, and we're going to have to drag him out of there. They're going to be expecting us this time, so it's going to be a little bit harder. And as she's, telling this plan, he asked, did you sleep with him? And she's like, what? She goes, did you sleep with Cass? And she's like, no, I didn't. Yeah, no problem. See you, Viking Bitch and Joe. I know it's a late one for you guys on the East Coast. So not my fault on that one. I tried to go on the East Coast time, but I knew it was going to be late for a lot of people. So she says no. And they drink and they go, okay, well, tomorrow they'll go at it again. So while sleeping, Jesse gets woken up by the sound of something exploding out in the distance, and he sees a gigantic nuclear blast that's happening out there. The phone rings. He picks it up, and it's his dad. His dad is telling him, you need to get the job done. You need to get the job done. And he's like, Dad? And he goes, you don't have much time. And as you see the nuclear blast coming towards him, he wakes up. And as he wakes up and he reaches over to grab Tulip to tell her, Hair Star is sitting at the edge of his bed with a rag. It looks like it's soaked in something he's going to put over his mouth. He grabs Hair Star's hand and then his throat. And as he is choking Hair Star, he sees it's actually Tulip that he's choking. And then the voice is in his own head and tells him to wake up and no more dreams. And then he wakes up again and finds out he was in a dream within a dream. So yeah, he ends up writing a note to Tulip, leaving it there and leaving. In the meantime, Cass gets thrown back in his cell, and Featherstone walks into Hair Star's office and says she'll accept any punishment. He just tells her to leave. And he notices this gust of wind. He noticed a gust of wind before in his office, and I didn't think anything of it. But this time around, the wind blows again, and in comes God. And he gives God a Dr. Pepper, Diet Dr. Pepper, who he says it's one of his greatest creations. Obviously not if you've ever had it. And he tells Hair Star, he goes, what were you doing? You wanted to make Jesse suffer. And he goes, no, I didn't. He goes, you wanted to make him suffer, didn't you? And he's like, yeah, I did. And he goes, well, then let's make him suffer, is what God says. And Jesse, in the meantime, has hitched a ride with a chicken truck farmer, I guess you could say, or someone that has a whole bunch of chickens in the back of the truck. And this is, I believe, still out in the Middle East. So yeah, it's kind of weird. And it's a blonde woman. Yeah, I don't know. It was just weird. And it turns out that she's talking about how she used to be in porn way back when, until everyone in the hot tub got electrocuted, and that's why she quit. And as they're driving along, he sees a little boy with a dead dog on the side of the road. She doesn't stop, and he goes, aren't you going to stop? She goes, no, hell no. She goes, you don't know what he's going to do. He could, rob us or whatever. And he uses the voice and tells her to stop. He gets out of the car, goes over to the boy, and the boy's crying about his dog. And he's trying to get to the airport, is what he's been trying to do at this point. And He looks up and sees an airplane flying overhead. And when he looks back down, the boy's got a gun. And the dog isn't dead. The dog's been playing dead. And the boy tells him, "Give me all your money." And he's like, "Why are you doing this?" He goes, "Just give me all your damn money." And he used the voice to tell the boy to drop the gun. And when the boy drops the gun, it shoots the dog dead. And then the boy starts crying for real this time. So Jesse feels bad, gives him a little bit of money, and then he gives him his entire wallet. And then he goes, "So what else?" And the kid looks down at his boots. He goes, "No, not my boots." He goes, "No." Yeah. Um, yeah. So Featherstone, in the meantime, is telling Hairstar that there's a Jesse sighting, and he says, "Ignore it." And they're going to decide to focus on Tulip at this time. And then he also wants to know if Frankie's still around because he's got an idea to have his ear rebuilt. Yeah. And it's a pretty disgusting idea, too. So Cass has a discussion with Frankie about the good old days of New York back in the 1800s or early 1900s when he used to drink with Babe Ruth and get, drunk behind a certain bar and throw up back there. And he used to hang out with a famous killer as well. He goes, "Yeah." And the Frankie actually knows who this guy is, who this killer is. And, Cass says, "Yeah, I once watched him stick a gun up a guy's ass and blow his brains out." And they're both laughing about it. And Cass says, "And that's how I'm going to kill you." And he goes, "Oh, really? You think so, huh? That's great, tough guy." And he goes, "I wonder how you're going to do that." And we see the lights turn on and class getting ready to start all over again. So, yeah, it's, yeah. And at the end, of course, he gets thrown back in his cell after he's been tortured. Tulip tries using a rocket launcher to destroy the door at the Masada, and of course it doesn't work, and so she takes off. Cass ends up killing one of the guards who comes in to feed him, and he escapes. And everyone's looking for him, and of course he follows a doctor into a supply room. Pretty much we think it's curtains for the doctor at this point, right? So Featherstone, in the meantime, is looking for Tulip at the local bar, and she asks the barkeep if she's seen Tulip. She's got a picture of him, and the barkeep's like, "Oh, she looks like a very nasty individual." He goes, "If I ever saw anybody like this," he goes, "Of course I would tell you if I ever saw anybody that looked as evil as that." And she goes, "That's good, because if you did, if you lied to me," and she pulls her gun out and just shoots one of her own men dead who are having drinks to commemorate the other guys that died during the whole thing that's been going on. Oh, Cass chewed off his own foot. There we go. Sorry about that. See, that was one thing I couldn't see. I was looking at a very small computer screen here, and I didn't see that he had chewed off his own foot. Pen. Thanks. Yeah, that's the difference between watching on the computer and watching on my big screen TV. So, we end up, of course, she ends up shooting one of her own guys, like I said, and says, "That's what's going to happen if you don't tell me, the truth." And he goes, "I haven't seen anybody like that." And we see him carry some coffee out to the garage, and who is out in the garage but Tulip? And she's repairing the car, and he says, "Well," he gives her some car advice, and then says, why don't you have your husband do that?" She goes, "I told you before, he's not my husband, and he's not coming back. He's gone. He's not coming back, and I need to get my friend out." So in the meantime, Jesse's ride, Jesse has hitched another ride now with a camel. And his ride is upset because the guy coming towards them on another camel is Muslim. He knows who the guy is. And he goes, "Well, wait a minute, aren't you Muslim?" He goes, "No, I'm Coptic." It's just different. And they pull over, they're talking, they're actually arguing back and forth, and they both pull weapons. And Jesse yells at them to stop. But the Muslim guy does not speak English, so he ends up shooting the Coptic guy, or stabbing the Coptic guy, who ends up shooting the Muslim guy, who falls back, shoots his camel. The other camel dies as well. Basically, both guys are shot, and both camels are killed as well. So Jesse is without a ride again at this point. And he's also trying to find out, he's got a drawing of a rock formation. He wants to know where it's at, but everyone keeps thinking it looks like a dick. Sorry, my fan keeps blowing my notes around here too. So yeah, Jesse is once again on, his own without a ride. Harris Stone has become the new Allfather, of course, and we see during a dinner, kind of commemorating this with all the leaders of the world. He's asked what's happened to the Holy Child, essentially, and it's like, oh, he's fine. Don't worry, you'll meet him soon. And we see that the Grail are actually hunting down. They're trying to find the right Humperdew. The right Humperdew, by the way, knows how to dance. They taught him how to dance. So we see them hunting down one of the free range Humperdews who they trap against the gate, and they start playing the music. They tell him to dance. And instead, he just starts humping a stick. So they kill him, and they're like, nope, he's not the right one, and throw him in the back with the rest. And the guy who, of course, asked this question, he keeps asking more questions. And he goes, Hair says, you need to have some faith. And he goes, without faith, we're nothing. And Featherstone brings in a big box and tells him to get into the box. So the guy gets into the box, and she gives him a grenade and pulls the pin. And Hairstar tells him to go down inside the box there. He does, and they seal it up. And the last words are to erase his search history. And we hear a poof inside the box, and the box moves. Any more questions from anybody? And of course, there isn't. Yeah. And of course, Hairstar tells Featherstone to blame the Australians. So Tulip and the barkeep are scoping out the Masada complex. Jesse is still walking. Cass, in the meantime, steals clothes from the pharmacist. It's a pharmacist that he stole clothes from. And he realizes the storeroom that he's in is full of drugs. And he's tempted to take as much drugs as possible. He's like, no, not going to do it. And instead he leaves. He makes it all the way to the lobby, and he's getting ready to leave because he tells the guard that he's leaving for a conference. The doors open, it's sunlight, and he kind of freaks out about the sunlight. And then he says, oh, nope, I forgot something. And he goes back inside. Yeah. So the barkeep, in the meantime, is trying to get Tulip to wait and see if Cass has freed himself because, she's been talking about Cass. He knows he's a vampire and all this stuff, and says, well, if he's a vampire, he can free himself. He's probably, okay at doing it. And he also says it's a bad job. You should stay here and wait. And she says, you know what? I don't wait for shit. Which, of course, is Tulip. She's headstrong, of course. Cass comes back from the storeroom looking a little puffier because he's got drugs loaded all inside of his jacket. So he's loaded down with drugs at this point. He's in the elevator when, of course, a bag of cocaine goes off and hits him in the face and basically covers his face. And he's like, what? One of the guys looks at him and goes, what? I'm not going to blow you. I'm not going to blow you either, is what he says. The guy, he's looking at him, and who turns around in the front but Frankie? And Frankie's like, but we all got trimmed up for nothing. And there's a big fight that happens inside the elevator. Cass walks out of the elevator in the lobby, but he's got shotgun shots in the back of his back, and he goes down. Shotgun blast into his back. Yes. And he gets caught again. So Jesse is at the airport, and a pilot at the airport, he asks him if he knows what that picture is. And the pilot goes, yeah. He goes, that's the Apostle. It's in Australia. You got to get out more. And Jesse realizes as he's reaching for his lighter to light his cigarette that he's left his lighter in the truck and needs to go back. It's his dad's lighter. The barkeep, in the meantime, calls Featherstone and tells her to take it easy on Tulip. And Featherstone and her troops arrive in a hurry, of course, and Featherstone has no plans on taking it easy on Tulip. So they're searching through the bar, and they don't find her, of course, and she tells her, check the garage. And just as they're going to go out and check the garage, out bursts Tulip's car and makes a run for it. One of the guys actually jumps into Featherstone's car, and she's like, what are you doing? He goes, someone took my car. And they take off after Tulip. So remember, someone took his car at this point. So they go down into this ravine. She gets trapped in this gully, and she ends up starting to do donuts in the gully there and throwing up a smoke screen. No one can see her, but then she ends up taking out the cars one by one until all that's left is her and Featherstone. So they're playing a little game of chicken. Featherstone, of course, chickens out first. And then Tulip makes a run for it up the grade and getting out of that pit. But of course, Featherstone's car can't make it and gets stuck, and is pretty pissed off about it at this point. Cass, of course, is getting circumcised by one of the students who's doing it wrong. He goes, "Just watch out for the tip," And of course, Frankie goes, "You're going to make some mistakes your first time around, because that's why we have these classes, so you learn," essentially. And then Frankie tells Cass, he goes, "I get it now. You're one of those fuck ups that basically get in their own way." He goes, "You think you deserve this, and that's why you do this. That's why you keep getting caught." And Jesse, in the meantime, has the pilot drive him to get his lighter back. He remembers what the crest was on the outside of the truck. He finds the truck, grabs his lighter, and they get back in the car, and the pilot looks up and won't move. And he's like, "What's going on?" And he goes, "Look up there." And we see the little boy that was on the side of the road, of course, in the window. And he gets taken aside by this freak, that's this half-dressed freak. And the pilot goes, "Aren't you supposed to do something about that? Isn't it some preacher's code?" And Jesse's just sitting there like, "No, he's not going to do anything." And the pilot goes, "Well, fuck it. There's a pilot's code." And he gets out. And Jesse, of course, follows him. Yeah. Jesus to Sod. You knew it was going to lead to nowhere good. I know, exactly. Hairstar, in the meantime, has his ear rebuilt with Cass's foreskin. And it looks exactly as bad as it sounds. Yeah. Tulip, in the meantime, has posed as one of the Grails. She was actually in one of the cars, and the Grail are bringing back their injured members. And she is posing as one of the injured people on a stretcher, and that's how she gets into Masada. Jesse, in the meantime, is on a plane to Australia. It's just him and the pilot on a big-ass plane, and that's it. They use the voice in order to get the pilot to fly him to Australia. And he sees Cass. He hallucinates Cass sitting next to him and goes, "Oh, Australia, huh? Well, thanks for leaving me hanging in Tulip as well." So yeah, that was just an interesting thing. And finally, we see God sitting there listening to his jazz music, the one about the end of the world, the one that he really likes. And there's a weird bird that's in a cage behind him, which I'm pretty much thinking it's a pterodactyl or a dodo, one of the two. I don't know which one it is. It keeps squawking. And as we pull back and we see, God sitting there drinking his Diet Dr. Pepper, we see a model of the plane, a model of the town, a model of Masada. And we realize that God, all this time, has been fucking with them and basically trying to, he was playing with miniatures of the car, plane, etc. He's basically been delaying them from getting along on their. That's why everything felt like we kept going around in circles these first two episodes, because that's what God was doing, was delaying them from getting along on their mission. And that's how we end it. Actually, it wasn't bad. I mean, yeah, I was along with the rest of you guys on this one, kind of looking at it going, "Oh my God, this thing just keeps going on." It was just, it was being circular until we got to the end. But why? Because the voice, Pen Farm Girl, if he uses the voice on God, he can get God to stop this. That was the whole thing. Is the voice is something that is both it's something God can't even handle at that point, because it's not something that he created. So yeah, it's so he doesn't want, of course, get interfered with what he's doing. Yeah, I'm not going to say what God is doing, because I know what he's doing, but you kind of infer what he's doing because of what we saw at the very beginning of episode 1. Is when he gets displeased with things, what does he do? He destroys it and starts all over again. So yeah, that's what's going on. So like I said, not bad episodes. A little slow start, definitely, but definitely not bad. Okay. Pen Farm Girl, Joe Greer. Okay. I know we lost a couple of people because it's late on the East Coast for you guys, not so late for me. Let's see what else we got here. Dennis, I know you're not a fan of BBC shows. Did you watch any of the BBC show Misfits? No, I didn't. Oh man, I'll catch you next week, Dennis. I just found out that Preacher is back through you. Hey, Jasper, that's good. I know you're long gone, but have fun watching. Apple Crow. So I haven't seen any of Preacher yet. Should I bow out now and catch up? It's next on my list after I finish Future Man. Future Man's not finished, Apple Crow. We've got one more season of it. So you've got, yeah. And that's not going to happen until next year. Yeah, next year. I had to think about that. Let's see what else we've got here. Star and Featherstone were too obsessed with revenge. Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. And the bucket full of foreskins. Oh God. And the bag full of foreskins. I mean, it's just wrong. And also, I want to know what the hell's going on with the angel. Why they have an angel there and what the angel is there for. We still have no answer as to what the angel is, why they have him, who the angel is, for that matter. So, yeah, we just know that he likes to talk a lot because, of course, he's been hanging there for a while. He's just hanging out. And Featherstone was kind of pissed at him too at one point and told him to put his wings back in, or they were going to cut him off. So he just retracted his wings back in. Yeah, I miss Future Man too, Pen Farm Girl, but it'll be back for one last season. It's part of the. I think that's going to be the last. Yeah, I believe that's the last series, the last show that is under the Rogan Goldberg, from their old company. Well, not their old deal that they had. Now they're doing a whole new deal with the boys and all this other stuff they're working on. So yeah, that's the reason why they kind of ended all this stuff, like Preacher, Future Man, Happy. All of that was ending because of, well, Happy just ended up getting canceled because of Sci-Fi, because that's what Sci-Fi does. Cancels things. Yeah. So with that said, if you like what you see here, hit the subscribe button, hit the like button. Also, you're gonna, if you're still on the fence about joining up, you're gonna see a video pop up here. It's gonna take a video from my vast video library, match it up with the algorithms of all the stuff you've been watching, and pluck one out of my vast video library and pop it up there just for you. Up here is going to be my last. The Boys actually is what that's going to be. That is The Boys. Let's see. Featherstone and Tulip have a really love-hate thing going on. When their bullets hit each other, they're both yeah. Well, they're the same person. Pen. That's the whole thing. Featherstone and Tulip are basically the same person. Only Featherstone has this religious bent, I guess you could say, and Tulip doesn't. So yeah, they are yin and yang, if you will. So that's what the whole thing is all about. And I'm liking it. I mean, hopefully they, I want more Arseface and the Saint of Killers, of course. I know Hitler's supposed to be coming back in there, or it wasn't Hitler that they were calling him though, but Hilter, yeah, when Hilter comes back. Well, isn't Hitler now in charge of hell? Yeah. Exactly. Boy from Half the Face. Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. More Arseface than Hilter. Maybe even a little bit of Satan too. Satan wasn't bad as a character. That was actually a pretty good character that they had going in there too. I mean, I love Hairstar, but I want more snarky Hairstar, not this. He was more scared in these two episodes than anything else, and didn't get to be. the hair star that we've seen of the previous seasons. You know? And that's what I want to see. I want to see more of that hair star. But I digress. I want to say thank you to everyone who joined me in the chat, who was able to stay till the end here. I know, like I said, it was a late one for you guys. Next week, it's only a single episode because they're actually bringing back Fear the Walking Dead as well. So it'll be a normal week next week. It'll be, 7:15 p.m. my time. Yeah. Yeah, he instilled some fear to the group around the table. He did, definitely. Well, he told them they need to have faith. Otherwise, if they don't, he's going to kill them, essentially, like the Allfather did before him. And I guess, I don't know, from what I saw from the previews, it looks like the Allfather is coming back. I wonder how that's going to happen. We'll see. But, yeah. Fear comes back already, and why? I don't know. But yeah, they advertised that it was just off this week and it's back next week. Yeah, I don't ask me. But yeah, so it's going to be 9 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. of course. Eastern, excuse me, Pacific time. God, my brain. Hey, Ejar, you came in at the very, very end. So, well, like I said, hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, take a look at the video if you're on the fence. If you want to see what my schedule is, it's on suspendedfanimation.com. It's also on my Facebook page. Tomorrow is Legion. Wednesday is Craptown. Thursday is The Boys. Friday, I'm off. Saturday is going to be Saturday Morning Blast Off. And next Sunday, of course, is Preacher. Hi, bye, Sasha. You came in and just popped in for a little bit, huh? Nice. Oh, yeah. How was Cyborg 2087? Was it actually Terminator or not? Inquiring minds want to know. Because that, I guess, was the other one. I popped in. I guess you're done now. Yes, I am done, Sasha. I did 2 episodes all at once. It's a Terminator 2 plot, is what that is. Got it. Not Terminator T2, though. Nice. I watched the episode of Batman Brave and the Bold with Blue Beetle. Oh, there's a lot of episodes of Blue Beetle. I can't remember which ones they are. My favorite still is, well, besides the end one, there's another one with Batmite. That, yeah, the Batmite ones are my favorites. Batman Brave and the Bold. So, with that said, I'm definitely going to leave you guys now. It's like a Minnesota goodbye now at this point. Thank you, everyone who joined me in the chat, and thank you if you made it this far in the video. And I will see you guys. Wait. What do you want me to wait about, Sasha? I'll wait just for you. Okay, what's gonna? So many elements you wonder why they didn't sue. Oh, okay, for the Cyborg 2087. What do you know about a darker shade of magic? Absolutely nothing. I've never even heard of that. So I know Magic the Gathering is being made into a animated show on Netflix with the Russo brothers producing. Yeah, that's the card game, Magic the Gathering. I don't know about Darker Shade of Magic. I don't know what that is. So anyway, with that said, I'm going to let you guys go. And I will talk to you guys tomorrow. Yeah, a lot of stuff ends up being a few decades too late. Trust me, Pen. I will see you tomorrow for Legion. So until then, don't let the door hit your ass on the way out. Otherwise, you may end up having Frankie give you a visit and bring his straight razor with him, which you really don't want to have happen, especially if you're not a vampire. Thanks, everybody. Good night.